How you doing there, folks? Recently, the Men's Issue Society at the University of Toronto held a panel discussion on the Ghomeshi trial. And one of the things that came up there at that talk was cameras in the courtrooms and broadcasting, court or broadcasting matters before the courts. 3 days later, the Ontario Civil Liberties Association launched a petition asking the courts just that. I'm going to point out there's a couple things here. Oddly enough, and this is so awesome, Judge Judy Shineland there points out exactly why we don't have courts or cameras in the courtrooms here in Ontario. Closed courtrooms only protect bad judges and lawyers. That's it in a nutshell. Okay, and it also hampers the defense because under Section 7 and 11 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada, you have the right to make a full answer in defense, and if you don't have access to a day's testimony that you can think about it, your cross-examination or anything like that, then you are at a disadvantage. Okay? Now, I'm going to point out a couple of their bullet points. Ontario is the only Canadian jurisdiction having a statute that outlaws the use of cameras in courtrooms, Section 136 of the Courts of Justice Act. Increasing Ontario courthouse security systems make court attendance invasive and inconvenient for the public. Members of the public and media are priori barred from access to the Ontario court audio recordings, even though these readily exist, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The Ontario courts always record, okay? Sometimes even when court is not in session, they are recording, okay? Those mics can be on. I've been in the courts where the law clerks stood up and said to a lawyer who was acting dishonestly in the courts in Brantford, Ontario, "How you doing there, lawyer David Maltby?" that the courts heard and recorded everything he said on camera about him claiming he didn't have to listen to what the judge said that day. Anyways, Ontario does not even have a pilot program for camera access to trial courts. A tentative experiment in 1984 did not produce any report. Now, they also point out, here's something really important and a big topic for non-feminists and parental alienation, is that family and civil courts should be broadcast. Litigants in family and civil courts, many of whom are self-represented, want to know that they have the security of an actual open court. Right now they don't, and I can tell you for a fact that they don't. Now, 136. Here it is right here. This is the Courts of Justice Act. This is 136, and you can read through it. You will see that it says that you cannot record things. You cannot make an audio or video one, except for under Section 2 here. It says that if you are a lawyer, a party acting in person, in other words, if you are acting as your own lawyer, or a journalist, which I do report on things, they can make an audio recording to supplement handwritten notes. Section 3 says it's for a motion picture or educational purposes. The judge can't say okay. All right. Now, an interesting fact around audio recording in the Ontario courts here is something that's known as the Chief Justice Howland Directive. And in 1989, Chief Justice Howland said, unless there's a publication ban, those three individuals listed in subsection 2, party acting in person, a lawyer, or a journalist, doesn't even have to ask the judge for permission to record, unless there's a publication ban. And in some cases, there should be a publication ban. I would go on to say that the accused and the accuser should have a publication ban until there's been a finding of guilt, or if there are other circumstances which would demand the suppressing of those court documents, or something along them lines. There are some certain crimes out there that are that if guilt was found, that the victim would pay a really nasty price later on in life. Okay. Anyways, that's just kind of my 2 cents. That's what's known as obiter dicta in the courts. So, folks, I'm going to urge you to get on over and sign this petition. I'm leaving a link in the low bar for you. Okay. You can see I've already signed it. I'm on my way to finish signing it and spread it around. This needs to be spread far and wide. I'm also going to urge those of you living in the States to sign it as well, because dual citizenship does happen. We share a huge, long border, all right? And we are very friendly neighbors. Sometimes those friendly neighbors result in trysts that produce children, and sometimes divorce happens, and things can get extremely nasty in the family courts. With perjury being rampant and not being punished, and visitation rights for fathers not being upheld because the judges are afraid of offending the ruling class. That would be the mothers. Okay. Anyways, folks, get out there, sign this petition. Please, 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 for the love of God, spread it as far as you can. Okay. Cheers. Take care. Dan out.